All the second stage tanks now pressurized. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Torpedo to the jugular. This is Honey Badger Radio. Radio with bite.
Receptivity, Mike Stevenson. They're trying a new thing. And hopefully it will have eliminated... Ah, shit, no audio.
Ay.
Can you guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Mr. 303 says the sound is back. Hopefully they are all saying this. So I'll just start all over again, because if they couldn't hear us. Hello and welcome to Technical Difficulties with the Badgers. Welcome to HBR Talk 396. Who won't commit? I'm your host, Hannah Wallen, here with Nonsense Annihilator Lauren Brooks.
Yo.
The personification of perceptivity, Mike Stevenson.
I was never here.
Yeah. Richard the Lionhearted.
I'm always here.
There we go. And the Doge in charge, Brian Martinez, working in the background to make everything happen. We spent a little extra time making everything happen before the show, so hopefully it all runs correctly. And hopefully we don't have Robo-Lauren or anything tonight. But before we get into any further discussion, we've got to do what we've always got to do. And as always, Honey Badger Radio dishes out a smorgasbord of thought-provoking discussions. And as experiences both recent and long past have demonstrated, the provoked thoughts are fighting back. They've made it clear that for people like us relying on third-party payment platforms like Patreon to fund our work is treading on thin ice, or building our house in the path of a rapidly growing wildfire. Yeah, Mangaka92, no intro from Brian. He still is really in the background. Although now that we are doing this via Discord call, if Brian does want to speak up on anything, as always, he's welcome to do so. I think the more voices, the better. As long as they're like real voices and not in my head. So those guys can shut up.
And for anyone who's watching on the video of the live stream and watching what the panda appears to be doing now that he's in silhouette, I can assure you that is one of his fingers. Yeah, no, pandas don't really have fingers, they have paws, but they also don't have those things that you think might be in the ship. Shut up! I just wanted to point at that funny thing because, frankly, it was quite funny. Sorry.
There we go.
Proceed.
Now we need to have a movie, Bad Panda. There's the title. Somebody else gets to write the screenplay and actually do all the work. But yes. So in let's see, where was I? The thought-provoking discussions and the provoked thoughts. Third-party payment platforms will never really be secure, I think. So since I'm deviating from my script, I'm going to remind everyone that the government is what started this problem, right? It wasn't the credit card companies. It wasn't the bank. It was the Obama administration and Operation Choke Point, in which they ordered the credit card companies and the banks to force censorship, to impose censorship on platforms that used them as payment processors. So when you use any payment processor that uses bank transactions, which it's pretty difficult not to, you are still, even though that law or directive, whatever it was, is gone supposedly, right? Even though it was withdrawn, reneged, whatever, it still is being used by the financial institutions. I think they just like having the power to engage in this level of censorship, and that's the situation. So what we have done, and unfortunately, you're still going to be using different forms of payment that ultimately trace back to the banks, unless we're accepting some sort of like Bitcoin or other e-coins. Feed the Badger is the only stable way to help us out. And that's because at least we have control over whether we bow to the banks, right? And we haven't been debanked. So that is the most stable way to help us out. And if you want to tip us directly instead of relying on any social media platforms, tip jar, the link for that is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And as always, the same risk applies to our social media platforms, even the good ones. For instance, I think X just banned a bunch of accounts as bots, which they may have all been bots this time. The last time they did that, they banned a whole lot of people who were not bots. But I survived. I think everybody that was following me survived. I don't know. I don't keep track of my follower count. I thought I had 10,000 followers for quite some time after I actually ended up with like 12,000. So, and I should know because I follow most of them back. But I have been suspended numerous times for being rude to feminist women. So all of us could get completely yeeted from all of the social media platforms. But you can always find our stuff on honeybadgerbrigade.com. You can find your way there to all of our content, and you can also find a link to feedthebadger.com in the drop-down menu at the top of the page. And with that long and wandering ad, so since I don't usually do that, but with that long and wandering ad, I will take us into the show material. So, we've been talking a little bit about... We started out with a conversation about the media's approach to incels and their invention of something called incel ideology, which doesn't exist. You could say incels do have a subculture within the greater discussion of men's issues, and of course, that is not a full culture. None of us have a full culture. It's a subculture within politics.
And people still on our talking points as well. So
Oh, yeah.
talking points. So my cousin, he used the word void like a few weeks ago. I looked at him kind of like, where did you hear that word? So
Where'd you pick that up? Well, that's
so
the
I
thing.
couldn't say I couldn't say where it came from or anything like that. So I just smiled.
Makes me wonder that I think we watched bunch of scenes from that 4-episode series that had portrayed that knifing by the immigrant as if a white British boy had done it.
Adolescence.
Yes.
But there was
I like
like
in the name.
sorry.
Was that term in that?
Yeah, and they used
Oh.
they use one of my stats as well in the on the
Interesting.
show. So, and they use
Yeah.
slang that I used to use years ago, which is kind of I can't really claim it because I have no proof of it. All the old forms are gone now, so I have no claim to the slang that people use every day. So because Cavalier stole all my talking points as well, so
That does not surprise me. And they
so
probably think, like,
people
since there's
are
nothing you can do about it,
yeah,
that
because
it's,
people only listen to him because he's like good looking. So
yeah, yeah, I suppose.
I guess my interview on your channel, because I use slang those terms on the interview that someone gave to me on your channel a while ago.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
quite possible that, they've listened to us. You never know. I think we have a lot more exposure than people think we do, or at least than people say we do. Because I'll talk about stuff on the show, or I'll feature something, and my co-hosts will talk about stuff, and it'll be something that I haven't really heard anybody else saying until they've said it or I've said it, and the next thing you know, there's a talking head on television talking about it. So, obviously, if you're a big media outlet and you're running short of stories, if you listen to smaller, more localized, or more niche media outlets, you find things that you can use as breaking news or breaking stories because worldwide it is breaking. In terms of, anybody that's not part of that niche or part of that local area, nobody's ever heard of it. Right. So similarly, they might take something out of the Dayton Daily News if it happened in Dayton. The biggest difference is when the Dayton Daily News publishes a story about something that happens here in the Dayton metro area, and say Fox News reports on it, they credit the Dayton Daily News as their source for the story. But when we talk about something in the men's rights movement, and say they read about it in A Voice for Men, or they hear it on our channel, or they see MRAs talking about it on X, they don't usually credit us, right? They talk about it like it's just something that they discovered themselves.
because Wilo Tomato, he stole a lot of stuff and he put it in his book as because his book's full of stolen quotes and stuff and stats they didn't give credit to.
Yeah, a lot of people have done that, and I've noticed, it happens a lot. Although to be fair, I don't really want to be famous, so if I say something and then people start talking about it all over the world because somebody else stole it and put it out there, as long as it's getting people to consider the issue and the ideas and everything, I don't care if they know it came from me or not. And in fact, I might actually prefer that they don't. But
yeah. You will not be thanked for getting there first.
good, because that would be embarrassing.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're not even
Well,
be thanked for getting
let's
there.
be fair. Let's be fair. On most things we talk about on this channel, I shouldn't be thanked for getting there first because I didn't.
Well, no one he got there exactly
No.
first. We're all working on, impulses that worm their way through human nature, before we get into this cloud of who knows what the fuck's going on anymore. We got
Yeah.
to finish your thought.
Yeah, but my point being, I think if the term "foid" was in that show, it's probably getting into common parlance because it was in that show, and that you never know. You can't deliberately make that happen, right? But there have been movies in the past that have led to that. For instance, when I was in high school, um, people started. Maybe it was even junior high. I'm trying to remember exactly when Valley Girl came out. But people started using the slang from that movie, and it made it into other movies too. Heathers was another one. People started using the slang from that movie.
Love that movie.
Yeah, yeah. I had a friend who just basically adopted "fuck me gently with a chainsaw." Um, I deliberately never used that, but you know, I go with "fuck me running" instead because that would be incredibly difficult. But yeah, we had anything we didn't like was totally grody and gag me with a spoon. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, a lot of terminology. And part of that is because it was localized terminology too. Like people localized slang, right? Talking like that, it makes it into a movie. The movie makes it popular all over the country, and suddenly everybody is calling something bogus if it's bullshit. They're saying bogus instead of bullshit. But Disney, I think, tried it. I think Disney was the company that made the Peter Pan movie that had Robin Williams as Peter Pan, all grown up. Tried to do it with the kids all shouting "bangarang," and of course it did not take off because it was just something they made up, and it wasn't cool enough to take off. So it's more when a subgroup, right, a subculture has something that they're already hooked. That's it. Thank you, the Chud King.
Well, if you say that, if you say that phrase to Dante Brasco, he'll say it with you. Because I met him at Comic Con last year, and I said that phrase to him, and he remembered it from the movie. So
that is cool.
He played Rico, so I yelled out Rico, and he yelled yeah. So that was cool.
See, it is cool when an actor is like that, where they enjoy their fans. But it's still like you can't orchestrate getting slang. You can't create. You can't make it happen. It happens because it just. There we go. Sorry, computer just went haywire. I'm assuming nobody could hear me because my headphones went. I don't have any background noise.
I can hear you.
Okay. But yeah, you can't orchestrate slang. It just happens because it people click with it. It clicks with them. So
I created a new term, but it's not catching on yet. So
yeah. But I think Floyd clicks with people, and there's a pretty good reason for it too, because a lot of women don't have personalities. I hate to say it, but
someone said on Twitter, we don't call women losers enough.
Yeah. It's not that it's not that I hate other women. It's not that they are not worth anything as people. It's that they aren't developing themselves, right? They don't build character. They stick their finger up in the air, and whichever the way the wind blows, they go along with that because it's what makes them popular. And they don't want to face the relational aggression they'll face from other women if they don't do that. So they don't develop a personality. They don't develop likes and dislikes. They don't develop goals. They don't develop passions. Or if they do, they keep them to themselves. And I run into a shitload of women on social media that when I talk to them, they sound like bots to me because all they are able to do is repeat other people's talking points as arguments. They really can't. They're very much like, some sort of Android version of a woman. If that makes sense.
It does. I've for as long as I've been alive, I've noticed a certain black and whiteness in my fellow males, where they feel the need. They it's not that life is a game. It's that life is a sport with women at the end of it, and they feel like you haven't completed this game until you found a woman at the end of it. And like even when I was prepubescent, I mean, I could mention Super Mario Brothers here, right? I could do the whole Game Gate thing all over and over again, right? But from a different perspective, where everyone's every man is expected to save a fucking princess, and I never understood that. But we have to examine where these various apprehensions and misapprehensions have strung themselves into the furthest corners of our civilization. Because I forgot where I was going with this. When I started,
I was talking about
there was something
having
really
no
clever in my
personality.
brain when I started, but it left by the time I finished this rant. Oh dear. It doesn't matter. Someone else talk.
Well, I just wanted to point that out, that it's probably clicking with people, specifically because everybody knows at least one woman that is like that, if not more, and everybody's had to deal with that. And I mean, I know there are women with personalities that are shitty too, like that's where the Karen meme comes from, right? There's all kinds of women with that kind of personality, and there's women with good personalities, right? And of course, nobody is all one or the other. But when you cannot display your personality because you're afraid other people will judge you, which y'all know that's not a problem I have. I go ahead. I will either take it into consideration if I think that it's a fair judgment, and figure out if I need to change something, or I will let it roll off my back like water off a duck's back if I think it's not. But I think a lot of women, like, you can't even tell a woman that she's that a woman who's not a supermodel and knows that she could never be a supermodel. You can't tell that woman you wouldn't make it as a supermodel, because she would have her feelings hurt, right? It doesn't matter to her that she wouldn't make it as a supermodel. It matters that you think she wouldn't make it as a supermodel, that she doesn't have what it takes. Right? That's pretty much the underlying problem. Narcissism. As long as they're narcissistic, their personality can't be real. Because if you judge their real personality, they can't live with that. Right? Me, like, if you call me a fucking bitch, I'm gonna say, yep, sometimes I am. Damn well bet I am. I know it.
Proudly.
Well, I don't know about proudly, but I can own up to it.
Oh no, I'm speaking for myself. Yes. No, if you're calling me a bitch, I feel that my intentions have been satisfied. I did my job.
There you go. So that's the thing. Sometimes I'm a bitch when I shouldn't be. So now if you have done something to one of my kids and I have responded to it, and you call me a bitch, then I'll be fine. I'm satisfied that I have achieved what I needed to achieve then. But yeah, that's just one of those things. I think everybody's an asshole sometimes, and but
So,
you just have to be able to own up to it, learn from it, and say, well, I should have done this. Next time the circumstance comes up, that's what I'll do in the future.
there was a show about an article at some point.
Yep. At some point, we'll get to the article. Speaking of bitches, So we started out with the whole incel culture thing, and discussing, that the idea that it's a culture and a not a subculture among male cultures, and an ideology, which like
It's not an ideology.
it doesn't have goals or anything.
Nope.
But then we went to an article about men putting off parenthood to make sure that they were prepared for it first. The Daily Mail, I think, or the Guardian, one or the other, very upset that men are taking time to prepare for parenthood before they become parents. So they don't like it when men don't have relationships with women. But then if men do have relationships with women and they want to make sure they do everything right, they don't like that either. How dare you?
They don't like men having options.
Right.
Options are for women.
Right.
Men get to sit back and do whatever the hell will please that woman.
They took the men
And
shits.
they did what?
They took the men shits away from the men, and now it's women shits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everything. I mean, they took the Boy Scouts. It's now gender fluid scouts. It's
Well, it's not quite
ridiculous.
that bad with Boy Scouts. There may be some changes some good changes that can come out of that. And it's as long as they don't take the male only activities away from the boys in the Boy Scouts.
That's
That would be a big problem because they need to have their male only activities. But the existing Girl Scouts were not affiliated. They weren't like together. They weren't the other half of the Boy Scouts. And they didn't do the things the Boy Scouts do. Girls couldn't become Eagle Scouts and so on. But at least people I know that are involved with the Boy Scouts are telling me that no, the boys still do things with boys. They just are now having girls groups too that are different from the boys groups. If they're doing it that way, that's not wrong. That's the right way to do it. As long as the women run the girls end of it, at least on the bottom end, they might have administrators that are men, but like the people directly working with the kids, let women run that, and let the men run the boys side of it, and let the boys be with the boys and the girls be with the girls, and do their thing, learn their skills and get their badges, and be prepared for their futures, and the ones that make it to Eagle Scout level for military careers if they want to. They did change the name to Scouts of America. Yes, Senior Sticks. So Senior Sticks gave us $2 USD and said, did they change the name to Scouts of America? The answer to that is yes, they did. While I'm at it, Meredith G gave us $5 as a super chow and said, HBR Talk 396, honey for the Badgers. Thanks for the thought-provoking conversation. But as far as I'm concerned, just from what I've been hearing, it looks like the same club for boys, as long as resources and unity, fraternization, or fraternity, not fraternization, but fraternity, are not taken away from the boys. The minute they start making them mix and mingle and not having boy-only camping and boy-only activities for the boys and girl-only camping and girl-only activities for the girls, then it becomes a problem. And so it's really going to depend on how they handle it more than anything. But I could certainly see why girls would prefer the Boy Scouts over the Girl Scouts, because the Girl Scouts really is just a giant cookie selling operation that mimics the Boy Scouts enough for parents to think that something good is happening. and the girls aren't. They might be getting some skills out of it, but they're not getting anything like the preparation and future prospects that come from the Boy Scouts. Now, does anybody owe them that? No. Nobody owes the girls that. But it's not. They're not doing any harm to the boys unless they start taking away their solely boy time. And then in that case, you'll hear me howling about it, because even though the only scouts in my life are friends, not myself or family members. I was a 4-H'er, so I actually I wasn't even a farm kid. My animal that I took to the fair was a rat. Kid you not. Entered it in the small animals division and won best of show with a rat.
Nice.
She did tricks. You can teach rats all kinds of interesting things. They are, for having brains as tiny as they have, they're smart little critters. They're smarter than women, actually, sometimes. A lot of the women I know have met on X, and these women. So what we ended up doing last week, after reading some of the comments under the article about men not wanting to have children before they're prepared to have children, we look at 8 reasons why women, not men, women are put off by marriage. Right? Now, how do you expect men to want to have kids with women if women don't want to get married? Do you? The contract is already bad enough, right? The contract you end up in as a husband is you sign the contract. You sign away your individuality. That this is what we looked at last week, right? Fear of losing independence and individuality, right? Fear of not being committed. You give up your financial stability because she's going to run up your credit cards to the highest height they can get to. And you are obligated to uphold your end of the deal because you have signed a contract. You have gotten married. She, on the other hand, can leave. She can break the contract with no penalties whatsoever. She can take the kids with her, and she can take your income and your property as well. So it's already a raw deal for men. And men are still willing to try it, although the numbers are down and women are upset about it. But there are still men getting married. Even as the phenomenon of MGTOW increased, I never saw the number of weddings that I was hired to photograph drop. When I got out of wedding photography, I still had to turn down people. And when I explained, I haven't even updated my equipment. This last time somebody asked me to photograph a wedding, I said, I haven't even updated my equipment since 2016 or 17, something like that. We're talking way outdated. And she found somebody to let me borrow a camera so I could photograph the wedding. So there's still people getting married. But yeah, it's women who are turning around and saying, well, I don't want to commit. I don't want to take on the task of doing emotional labor of maintaining a relationship from my side. Right? Even though I expect you to be romantic, I expect you to treat me like I'm special and court me through our entire marriage, our entire life. I don't want to have to take care of you and show you that you're important to me in any way. I don't want to make a commitment. That's the contract that women are signing. I don't have to do anything. You have to do it all. And I could still walk away and take everything with me. And Yeah, it's not very good for men.
On another note, it has been noticed quite recently that the more you pay women for their remedial jobs, the fewer children they have. But the more you pay men for their remedial jobs, the more children they have, which is not to get too reductive, but it looks like the more wealth you give women, the faster you destroy civilization, and the more wealth you give men, the faster you grow civilization. I'm sure it's not exactly what you were talking about just now in this discussion, but it was parallel to it.
It is kind of. You know, if you look at the relationship between men and women throughout history, right, there was a partnership. It wasn't identical, but the responsibilities evened each other out. They shored each other up. They were dependent on each other, yin and yang, right? And you had, if men were going to be the ones going out and earning a living, or before work, before there was work, having a trade that they did in order to earn a living in their home, you had the woman taking responsibility for making sure that the home was a refuge, that the home was a place that he could come back to, and feel cared for, nurtured, loved, and supported. And while he was supporting her economically, she supported him emotionally and mentally, and in many ways physically. And it's very important that you have that partnership if you're going to expect someone to keep you. Right? If you're going to expect someone to provide for you, well, what ended up happening in the 20th century was women started seeing an environment in which the breadwinner role didn't look as hard as it used to look. Right? The family head of household, protector and provider, didn't have to go kill things and bring them home and butcher them and clean and butcher them and tan the skins and all. Right? They didn't have to do all that. Didn't have to necessarily know a trade. He could go work in a factory or an office. Might even be a journalist. He didn't have to choose from farmer, military, or providing a service like shoeing horses or making coats and clothes for people. He actually could work for somebody else. So they decided they wanted to do it. And a lot of them went out and did it. And as the 20th century progressed, the feminist ideology began to convince women to abandon their side of the marriage, right? Abandon the role of being the steward of the household, the individual who made sure things were the way they should be, managed the finances, and made sure that the family members had their emotional support, their physical support in the form of nourishment and a comfortable environment, and in particular made sure that the head of household had that, because he needed to be replenished when he came home, so the next day when he went out to win more bread, he wasn't beaten down, worn down, and exhausted. And so now you have men still fulfilling their role, right? But when they come home, the wife is haranguing them about not doing the dishes because she also worked 8 hours, and it doesn't matter that she sat in an air-conditioned office and he worked on a county highway in 98-degree heat. She shouldn't have to do any more housework than he does. It's and of course, women, from their perspective, they think it's unfair to them. But the fact is, women got a get out of your responsibilities free card. And those responsibilities had to go somewhere. And men have been shouldering whatever responsibilities nobody else would throughout history. And guess what they did? And so now we have a situation where people think marriage isn't happy anymore. And women in particular really don't understand that they are the root of the problem most of the time. So concerns about financial stability, right? 2010. Now that this is a while back, 2010. A 2010 Pew Research study found that roughly a quarter of unmarried young adults aged is 35 or 25 to 34 cited financial instability as a primary reason they are not currently married. That's a huge number. It's no secret that the millennial generation is grappling with unique financial challenges. We're talking about student debt, high cost of living, and not to mention stagnant wages. Now throw in the cost of modern weddings. My wedding, I think we spent grand total between the church and everything else, including the clothing we wore and the hotel room we went to after the wedding, $1,000. That was pretty expensive for us. We thought that was a lot. But I've photographed weddings where the bride's family shelled out more money for her wedding than my parents spent on to buy the house I grew up in when they purchased it. I never could understand that. I wouldn't even pay that much for a car.
Oh, the thing about weddings that I hate is that, it's more, people use the idea of, having it being seen in front of God and all your family and blah, 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 blah. And, I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I can understand the justification of, your religion and, wanting to be, formally seen in the eyes of your God as, you two are together now. But in reality, at least in the United States and most of the Western world, the government decides when you're married or not, right? Because if you're going to go through a formal reception, you have to go to the court. People, this always kills me. It's like the wedding is the biggest thing. Meanwhile, you have to go and sign paperwork. You have to go get your marriage certificate. At that point, you're legally married. The whole performance, walking down the aisle, that's all it is. It's a show.
It's a performance, yeah.
Yeah, so I just don't take too much stock in, when people, when you get married, no, you want the attention, because let's be real about it. God doesn't care if your wedding dress costs $5,000. This is something that you do because you want you want my day, and it's only women. Men do not have this. And of course, not all, right? But
Right.
men don't have this illustrious dream of, I'm going to be standing at the end of the aisle waiting for her father. That's not the way it happens. This and I'm going to equate this to pregnancies too, right? Women like these types of events for the attention that they can garner off of it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you're going to tell me any different, right? Like I just, it's blatantly obvious if you look at social media and just the things that women post to gain attention is so unbelievably ridiculous. Like I was watching one video today, or these get ready with me. Bitch, I don't want to sit here and watch you brush your fucking teeth. You know what I mean?
No.
Like why do you every little the minutia, the tiniest details of people's lives have
Well,
to
they want
be
to feel like
plastered
they're a
all over the.
celebrity.
Yeah, I mean, of course that goes with it too, but it's just this narcissistic attention whorish type of behavior that really stands out to me. I mean, in certain states in America, if you want to be married, you just have to live with somebody for a certain amount of years. And boom, there you go, common law
You are
marriage.
married, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the pomp and circumstance it just never really sat well with
Yeah.
me, because I just, I recognize it for what it is. And, it's okay if you want to have a day to celebrate, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. But if you're now putting yourself in a financial bind because your day has to be perfect, it's got to be perfect. Nothing in life is perfect. You are setting yourself up for a fucking failure if you think that everything is just going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Life just doesn't happen that way.
No, and one of the things that I've kind of told my kids, like, don't waste money on a party like that.
No.
Don't waste money putting on a show for other people. Maybe enjoy the day with your family. And I demonstrated it for them myself, right? My husband and I, both of us are not, neither one of us likes to be the center of attention in a room full of people. It's not really our thing. So when we started, we're going to get married, and doing our thing, we're going to do this, right? We're going to make it legal so that we don't have any problems that come from any of the problems that come from having it not be legal. And that was the only reason we were going to make it legal, because we had already committed to each other outside of the legality of it, and that wasn't going away. And we had that conversation, obviously, and I made it a point, when we have a child together, I'm committed. You couldn't get rid of me if you tried now. You'd have to get a restraining order. And and he pretty much said the same kind of thing to me, just not quite in as silly of a manner. He's a more romantic person than I'm not a romantic person at all. And but we had other things that we had to deal with in life that if it's not legal and it doesn't count, it made those things difficult. And the other end of it was there was a lot of family pressure for me to not treat him like he was the head of my household and the father of my child, because we hadn't made it legal. And I was calling bullshit on that. So we said, all right, we're going to have a wedding. All right. And we start looking at all of the things that people do. And I got sick, physically sick. We thought I had the flu. But it wasn't the flu. I was just so stressed out over the idea of doing all the, all of the steps and spending all of that money and all of the showmanship and making sure things are satisfactory to everybody that's going to be there and stuff. And I finally just looked at him, we're looking through bridal magazines, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Can we elope? and just tell everybody afterwards we got married and we're gonna have a barbecue now. And we almost did that. Like, we came really close to doing that, but our parents their feelings would have been hurt if we didn't have some kind of wedding that we invited our family to. So we had some kind of wedding. My uncle in-law is a Baptist minister, and I was raised in the Christian Union Church, which is an offshoot, and so that meant more to me having a family do it than anything. And so that's where we got married, was in his church. It's a storefront building, not a big fancy church. And we had about 50 people who were there that were just members of our family. And we didn't have a reception. We didn't do the reception. We didn't have a band. We didn't have a DJ. We didn't have any of that stuff. We had, kind of a potluck and a homemade cake that my mother-in-law decorated. And my family are photographers, so they weren't going to let it go by without like 6,000 pictures being taken that I can't even find anymore. I don't even know where my wedding pictures are. And that was it. But we didn't have to do all this, the cost of modern weddings. You don't have to do that. It is not necessary.
Nope.
You'll be just as married if you do it the way that my husband and I did. And it'll be a lot more fun, unless you are one of those huge party animals that has to have that kind of stuff happen and you spend money on stuff like that all the time and you're rich. If you're not into that, you're not obligated to do that. Now, you might not get 1,000 gifts from people you don't know, but that's okay. You just, you go your own way, earn your own way.
Yeah, and really, and oftentimes, like, if you're going into it with the idea of like the gifts that you're gonna get, they will never offset the cost of what you had to do to get those gifts in the first place. So
Yeah.
again, like it's just it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make rational sense if you really look at the finance of it. And interestingly enough, finance is one of the main reasons that people divorce.
Yep. People divorce because they're in debt. They divorce because they're arguing about money. They divorce because one of them feels like they're pulling all the weight and the other isn't.
Yep.
Right? And it's usually women, and they don't realize if you're earning $50,000 a year, but you're spending $30,000 a year on the credit cards, and he's earning $40,000 a year, and he's not spending anything on the credit cards, it's you're not out earning him.
Yeah.
Right? You're not the breadwinner.
Yeah.
He's paying your debts.
Yeah, like the number one thing that women bring to marriage is their fucking debt, and it's just kind of expected for things to just be handled. And I'm speaking from, well, not so personal experience, because my brother married a woman who had a huge amount of debt. And, she always wanted to be she always wanted to be a mom. So they did in vitro. And of course, they had to pay for a certain portion of that. But now she's home with the babies and she can't work. So guess who has to pay all of her credit card debt?
Mhm.
It's just, I don't like it at all. But yeah, no, I did. Marriage is so much more complicated than people give it the time and attention to, and they tend to find out at their own peril. What
How about
exactly?
that oppressive coverture, ladies?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Coverture used to prevent women from ending up with that massive debt before they got married.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it used to prevent them from costing the family their home or the family car or the horse and buggy back in the day. But now women can totally wreck their credit before they get married. They can end up with such massive debt that even after they get married, they will not
recover from.
They'll not be able to ever pay it off. Right? And you have that $150,000 that you spent on a degree that you're not using to earn a living. A degree
Right.
in underwater basket weaving, feminist underwater basket weaving. You
Yes.
only weave girl baskets. The boy baskets are just right out, okay?
It could be, it could be like that lady on Clever Samuels. I have a PhD.
Yeah. I
Yes.
have a PhD. Oh my gosh.
She didn't say it like that. She says, Lauren, can you say I have a PhD in the way the lady said it?
I have a PhD.
That's the
I
one.
have a toolbox. Oh, a
Yeah, but
50-pound backpack that I carry sometimes back and forth to work because, well, almost every night because I have things in it that I use at work, tools and, cleaning stuff that isn't necessarily properly provided. So I have a pair of gloves that the sleeves of the gloves go all the way up to my shoulder.
damn.
Well, we have hard water in the Dayton metro area. And if I'm off work for 3 days in a row, the toilets get a ring. So I have a pair of gloves with sleeves that go all the way up to my elbow.
Oh, those are the kind of gloves. I thought you were talking about a more fashionable pair.
Nope.
I was very interested.
They're not silicone and they're not latex. I can't remember the nitrile, not nitrile. They're thick. They're almost like plastic, right? And they're made for, well, let's just say I got them at Harbor Freight. I did not buy them at I don't know if the Fashion Bug is still a thing. I haven't been clothes shopping at any place other than Goodwill in a while because I don't like to spend money on brand new clothes when there are perfectly good clothes that are not brand new that will last just as long as the new ones will for $1.50 at Goodwill. So yeah, but yeah, out of the weeds. They may be PVC. They might be PVC.
Oh,
A night
Ger-
motorcyclist said.
Germany are not doing the thing where you have to report you leaving the country no more after the
They're
patch launch.
not. Mm,
No.
Oh, that's good. I
yeah.
imagine they had a lot of outrage there, but yeah, we talked about that on Tuesday. Only the men, right? Not the women. Only the men had to report
Yeah.
to the military. The
Oh,
women did not.
men of fighting age, 18 to 45.
Yep, men of fighting age. Although if you ever work in a nursing home, you will discover that if you fail at being a nurturing and considerate caregiver and you scare somebody in his 80s who can't see very well and can't hear very well, fighting age is relative. Men will defend themselves even in their 80s. They may not be as good at it, but they'll try. And
Especially especially in Ukraine when they kidnapped.
yeah,
In Ukraine, they kidnapped the guy with Down syndrome and made him fight. Same thing
yeah.
with Russia as well. So
In the United States, if you have Down syndrome, you still have to register for selective service.
That's insane.
In the United States, if you have a condition that gets you labeled a quadriplegic. A quadriplegic doesn't necessarily mean all four limbs are paralyzed. It can mean that all four limbs have reduced mobility to a degree. So you can be a quadriplegic, but still be able to move your limbs, but
Well,
maybe
yeah,
not be able to walk by yourself.
I don't know if you've seen the video of the quadriplegic shooter who snorted a line of coke and then shot off some rounds.
Oh dear. No, I haven't seen that. But you could have that condition. And if you just don't sign up for selective service because you have that condition, you are still in violation.
I
You're
keep
not
trying to
exempt.
tell feminists that on Twitter, but you know how they are.
Yeah, it's actually on the selective service website. I looked it up. And it's
and
you have to prove you're disabled, first of all, but second of all, there are conditions that are severely disabling in life that you could be on disability, you could be receiving disability, and the military would still find a way to use you in a war if you're a man.
so I would have to sign up for selective service if I live in America, even
Oh,
though with
yes.
all my disabilities.
Yep, you definitely
Uh,
would. Yep, you'd have to go in there and sign up, and then if a draft was enacted, you would have to prove all your medical conditions with documentation before they would consider whether or not you might have a medical exemption. Yeah.
But I got flat feet as well, so that
Yep.
would
As do
That'd
I.
probably
out.
disqualify you. Some of the other things you told me would probably disqualify you. But you would still have to go in and give them the ability to determine that. And then
Can I just
the other thing they do
uh,
is they change the standards. So, for instance, the IQ standards and stuff like that had changed during the Vietnam War, and so did the standards for like your legal status if you were uh, convicted of crimes that would have kept you out of the military before the war. They relaxed some of those standards and even gave people reduced sentences for serving.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and this is one of those things people don't realize, that it's not just that men are used by the military because they're stronger. They will take men that are less fit than women. Right? They will take men who are completely incapable of being fit, and they will force them to become fit to the best of their ability. And if they're not able to, then they might medically discharge them, or they might decide that you're doing it on purpose and to give you a dishonorable discharge and possibly imprison you and all kinds of shit. So men, they're subject to some pretty enslaving treatment when it comes down to it by selective service. But yeah, women, this idea of getting married, we can't do that. The cost of modern weddings is too much, even though it's the woman that drives up the cost.
Mm.
Pooling personal assets, even though it's the woman that drives up the debt most of the time, right? And there's another thing about that. The whole point of creating a household with another person and becoming partners, you are creating, in a way, a business,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Not in a way, in almost every way is if you're looking at
It's a
it
little
from the government.
corporation,
Yeah.
right? You're not incorporated in terms of you selling a product or a service to the public, but you have incorporated as a household. Your household has its finances, and you band together as a household to keep yourselves safe and comfortable and happy and loved and cared about. Your family is supposed to be your safe haven. It's supposed to be the people that you can turn to when you have questions or concerns or wants or needs, and the people that you support when they have questions or concerns or wants and needs. And so for women to be like, I don't want to pull my personal assets. Why? Because you plan on leaving? You're only going to do this for 10 years or less, depending on, whether or not you plan to get alimony? Because that's what the first thing I'd be worried about with a woman is that if she's not cool with pooling her personal assets, that she's planning on leaving. That she's not taking this, she's not making a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The complexity of sharing financial responsibilities. Well, you create a budget instead of two separate budgets. You put all of the household expenses on that one budget. You put all of the household income as the source of payment into that budget. And then you have, if you have money left over after you have accounted for all of your bills, that is household money. But most women think of it as yours and mine instead.
What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine.
Is mine. Yep. Yep. And the really unfortunate thing is that a lot of times men will go into a marriage with a good standing with their bank and a good credit rating because they have been careful. And the wife ends up overdrawing the account too many times or running up credit card debt and so on, and then leaves. And then when the man is divorced, his credit is wrecked and his bank standing is wrecked. My husband was a divorcee before we got married, and when we got married, if we had wanted to not have joint accounts, we wouldn't have really had that choice without choosing not to have accounts at all, because she had overdrawn so frequently on their joint account that he couldn't get an account without a cosigner. Now he could, right? After years of him just being able to run that account, like I hands off that account. The only thing I ever do is transfer money into it for some bills. But aside from that, he's run it, and it's never had a problem ever. So now, after years of marriage, his standing with the bank is good again. His credit is good again, and he's had recovery. But that was something that being married took away from him in his first marriage. But it's women who are scared. High cost of living. It is cheaper individually. It is cheaper per person for 5 people to live together, and 5 people to eat together, 5 people to share the same electricity and water bill and cable, internet, whatever else that you buy for the household. For a family to be on the same insurance plan, it is cheaper per person than it is individually. So it's cheaper to be married. It's not cheaper to have kids, because kids don't bring income in, but it is cheaper to be married. And them worrying about stagnant wages, stop voting for Democrats, ladies. You won't have that problem. That's why that happens. The picture gets even murkier, she says. There's nothing murky about it. Ladies, we see right through your shit. Right? We see through it. It's not murky. It's that you're all wet. Financial security.
I'm glad
go
I'm
ahead.
invisible to women. I'm glad I'm invisible to women. So I don't have to put up with them.
Yeah.
You're glad you're what?
Invisible to women, because women don't see me.
That is a skill, in a way. But they certainly aren't going to. They certainly aren't going to exploit you financially if they don't know you exist. Well, any more than they do through taxation. But
Yeah.
and even people who don't pay income tax, if you're paying for products that have tariffs or sales tax, if your money is going to your local government, your state government, your federal government, so your regional government, your federal government, national government, it's going to women. So she says, financial security is a significant part of our lives, affecting our well-being and lifestyle. So it is understandable why considerations about finance can be a valid concern that make some women hesitant about marriage. It's funny, too, because women who are married have at least a financial safety net in that they have a partner. If something happens to them, then he can earn. And it used to be that women could consider themselves the safety net as well. If something happens to the husband, the wife can earn. But now women are getting married and thinking of themselves as still individuals rather than part of the family, primarily. And so they're not considering themselves or their partner each other's safety net. She says, but wait, the list is far from being over. We still have other important points to discuss. So let's see what else. The instability of modern relationships. Modern relationships aren't stable, guys. I wonder whose fault that is. Who is at fault? Who is this woman going to blame for the instability of modern relationships? Richard, what were you going to say?
Incels.
Yeah, incels. She's going to blame incels. I can see that.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah. Yep. In today's fast-paced world, nothing is certain. Yes, there are two things that are certain: death and taxes. We know that. Especially when it comes to relationships. Take a look around. Divorce rates have been on the rise, and there's no denying that it influences the way we perceive marriage. So the lowest number that I've seen from attorneys reporting on, who they serve, is that 69% of divorce is initiated by women, not men. And most of the women that are initiating divorce are not doing so because they were abused, abandoned, or cheated on. They're bored, or they're mad that their husband is not coming home from his job and doing housework. Night Motorcyclist says, incel inside, Intel chime plays. And yes, the Chud King points out, I like Ronald Reagan, but he implemented no-fault divorce. Yeah, that was his worst policy. Well, Ronald Reagan also had the Iran-Contra scandal. I'm not going to explain that. You guys can look it up.
I was going to mention that. He did do a little bit of tweet here and there.
Yeah.
All in all.
Yeah, he did do a little bit of big government bullshit, right? We as great as Reagan was economically, and he did keep his promises, he was still a big government guy, and he did engage in big government bullshit. So Senior Sticks,
sorry,
go ahead.
it was far gone with dementia by his second term.
It was what?
He had dementia during the second
term.
Oh
yes, yeah. Yeah, there was some possibility that he was not all there during the second term. I think that's what made it so easy for people to criticize the men who have run in the last, well, since Obama. Obviously, if Obama was senile, that would be kind of strange considering his youth. It happens occasionally. Alzheimer's will hit somebody in middle age or younger. But normally, you don't even see any evidence till they're in their 60s or 70s. Or at least you can't recognize it. But Senior Sticks said, as women can marry oneself, they can divorce oneself. I don't know. I think there's a lot of women on Twitter who might have already done that, on X who might have already done that, because, like I said, they have no personality. So maybe
Emma
that's what
Watson,
happened.
Emma Watson divorced herself, and a couple of others themselves.
Did she divorce herself? Did she
She
actually go?
unpartnered. Yeah, she unpartnered. Now she's going out with a billionaire.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Who
You know,
even
the whole
pay-
self-partnering thing, we used to just call that masturbation. It's pretty simple.
Who even pays for these ceremonies of women marrying women? I'm almost certain it's men.
Probably their fathers.
Unless like, it's like she's going to pay for herself to be married to herself.
Well, she's loaded. She got like almost $500,000 from people for pretending to be a victim. So, and Emma Watson's loaded. Like that's another reason to want to, not be famous and maybe be comfortable, but I don't know if I'd even stay rich for very long. But I'd just put my husband in charge of the money. I wouldn't have to, because he's the head of the household anyway. So there we go. We'd stay rich. But the self-partnering thing, that is the ultimate act of narcissism, right? Well, the problem isn't me that other people don't like me. It's everybody else. So I'm going to marry myself to prove to you all that the problem is you, not me, right? That's bullshit. But yeah, this woman brings up divorce rates. Well, the divorce rates are driven by women. Right? The divorce rates, in fact, are driven by a phenomenon among women that women don't even know they're doing to themselves. Manufactured misery, self torture. Like I look around my apartment right now, and I wouldn't show you guys what it looks like. It is a mess. We've got shit everywhere. Not literal shit, but we've got stuff everywhere. And a lot of it's stuff that came home from my parents' house when they passed away. Well, shortly before. But there's quite a bit of stuff that we've collected over the years that we're keeping, until we move into a bigger place, or that we've been keeping temporarily for some other reason. So the mess goes and comes. It changes over time. And sometimes it's nice and neat and tidy, and other times it looks like a hoarder house. And if I decided that I was going to set an unrealistic standard for being able to do those things and have a neat and tidy apartment in the process, I'd be miserable. I'd absolutely hate it. I'd be looking around going, we can't live like this. This is crazy. Right? But I didn't set that standard because I know, right, some of this stuff is going to be gone next week. Some of this stuff, there's going to be other stuff in its place. Some of it, there's not. Some spaces are going to be empty for a month, or 2 or 3, and then have stuff in them again. And it's all stuff that's important at the time. So there's no reason to get heated about it. It is the way things are. And so you deal with the way things are, not the way you want to be. Clean around it, clean under it. Good to go. But a lot of women really get upset about stuff like that. Right? A lot of women get upset if the dishes are in the sink for a whole day before they get washed. And they don't want to wash them. They want somebody else to do it, but they don't want to have to ask. My dishes can sit in the sink for 3 days before they get washed. And everybody knows if nobody else touches them, I will wash them, and it will not bother me at all that nobody else did it while I was working overtime. Right? I'm happy in that situation. because I have the thing that is the absolute most important. My family is still intact. We're in contact with each other. We have regular communication, and we enjoy that communication and that togetherness. That thing, that unity is way more important than any environmental change, any possession I might have, anything like that. So I'm happy because I have prioritized something that I can contribute to maintaining. Very important. A lot of women are miserable because they prioritize things that they're not even willing to contribute to maintaining, and they refuse to contribute to the maintenance of the relationships that they are in with the members of their family. And then they don't understand why those relationships fall apart. They don't fall apart. You tore yourself out of it before you got divorced. That, more than anything, influences the way they perceive marriage. Right? That unwillingness. I won't do anything more as a wife than I would as a single woman. That influences the way they perceive marriage. I don't want marriage to be any work at all. That influences the way they perceive marriage. Media, movies, and real-life examples of friends going through messy divorces play a part in this perspective, too. It's perfectly natural to question the stability of modern relationships and the longevity of marriages. Why put a ring on it when there seems to be a trend of temporary love and parting ways? That sounds like they're talking to the guy, because the woman almost never puts a ring on it until they put the wedding band on him. And, there's a big difference, right? The guy's supposed to shell out this huge amount of money for a gemstone, or she's still fair game for everybody. And she can sleep around, she can date, she can maybe be taken away from him, blah, blah, blah. We weren't going to do an engagement ring. I didn't really want to wear a fancy ring with a gemstone on it. The kind of work I do, that's not really appropriate attire. So I would have had to be taking it off and putting it on all the time, right? But we ended up having to have something, because every time somebody flirted with me and I said, "Oh, I'm engaged." "No, you're not. You don't have a ring." "If he doesn't care enough to get you a ring, then I'm going to try to take you away." I'm the one that said no ring. I didn't want a ring. So we ended up, he and our daughters, went out and looked and picked something. And so I wore that until we got married, and now I wear a wedding band. And if women were sensible like that more often, we didn't spend thousands of dollars on a gemstone. We actually got it. I say they got it at the Renaissance Fair, the Ohio Renaissance Fair, and it was, if I remember correctly, less than $100, which is what I wanted. If we were going to do something like that, I didn't want a bunch of money wasted on something that I was only going to wear until, we tied the knot. Because it's bullshit to waste a bunch of money on something that you're not going to wear like that. But it's really insane, in my opinion, this tradition. And it was honestly it's not that old. Right? Women used to bring something into the marriage. The man didn't used to have to give her jewelry to win her hand in marriage. There was no rule that you had to spend, 2 or 3 months' salary or some shit like that.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is insane.
That's like a marketing tactic by the jewelers.
Mm-hmm. It's specifically by, I think I'm pronouncing it right. It's Bear.
De
It's spelled
Beers.
like De Beers. Okay, De Beers. Diamond company, jewelry company, and they are the ones that got that started, and now everybody's doing it. And it's bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit. The smart thing that a woman can do. It used to be also, by the way, that a woman brought a dowry with her into in Western culture. During, I want to say the 19th century, it started falling out of fashion, and by the 20th century, people weren't doing it anymore. But your dowry was your your starting money, and that was your good start, so that you didn't have a situation where both parents had to work. You had
like a deposit, basically.
Yeah, and the woman wasn't going to have a job necessarily in many marriages, unless you were poor, right? Then the woman might have a job. She might be somebody's cleaning lady or a cook or a number of other things like that. But there was no you bring nothing to the table because you are the table kind of conversation. And it wasn't until it began to be popularized in media that a man should just fall head over heels and marry a woman for herself, and the dowry shouldn't factor into it. It was a really big mistake for women to stop doing that. And as women started working, what should have happened is that instead of her parents saving up a dowry to send with her, women should have started working like as soon as you can get a job in your teenage years, which in the United States right now, in most states, I think you have to be 16 years old to get a job without your parents asking an employer to hire you. There are special rules for what labor you're allowed to do and stuff like that, but you can still have a part-time job and earn money and put it away. And a woman could do that. Let's say marriageable age is around 23 years old. Let's say the amount of time you would spend in college to get a bachelor's. You graduate at the age of 22 if you graduate high school at 18. And then maybe spend a year engaged and get married at 23 or 24 years old. If you worked part-time from 16 to graduation and full-time from graduation to 23 and socked most of what you got paid into savings accounts or higher interest-bearing accounts than that, even just a certificate of deposit periodically, you would save up enough to make a pretty solid down payment on a house. You'd make it possible on decent credit to get a mortgage. If you didn't build a debt and you built a savings and you treated that as a dowry as a woman, you'd be invested in your relationship and you would be prepared to start a family. And if women would think like that, if young women would think like that, instead of thinking about, I want this and I want that, and instead thinking about, what can I do for my family before I have them? If they would love their husband before they meet him, love their children before they conceive them, and plan to be the best they can be as a wife and a mother and a member of the household, they'd be in a much better position when they got married. And I will bet you the divorce rate would cut just by the fact that the woman is invested in the relationship and in the family. But they don't do that, right? They come in with $150,000 in debt that if they don't work for this company for 4 years, they're going to have to pay themselves and then the husband ends up getting saddled with it. So who cares about the ring? Maybe think about
The divorce rate in Kentucky's gone down a little bit. It's a 50-50 thing.
yeah, since they started 50-50 shared parenting.
Yeah, the divorce rate's gone down like a whole lot now.
Yeah, well, if you can't take the kids with you, you're not justified in asking for exorbitant child support rates. I think Kentucky also did away with alimony, at least court-imposed alimony. So if you're
I
in
think
that situation,
the women were paying more alimony than the men in
yeah,
Kentucky. Why they
if
stopped?
if they earn more, but if you're in that situation, it's more expensive. It's as expensive for her to divorce as it is for him. So she says, yet again, this isn't to say all marriages are doomed. Well, I certainly hope not, because she'd be wrong. We see examples of long, happy marriages too, but let's admit it. The concept of forever seems to be wavering a bit at the current or in the current age. Again, whose fault is that? Is it the people that are filing for divorce most often? Maybe?
So it's the manager's fault.
so we hear.
And it's Stephen Bartlett's fault.
So reason number 4 for some women being put off by marriage, the instability of modern relationships, which in my opinion is women's fault.
Yes. Predominantly.
Yeah. But remember, this is but one perspective of many that make up this conversation. On to the next, shall we? So this will be our last one for tonight. Longing for personal growth.
That's like an oxymoron when it comes to women.
I'm gonna behave myself. I will not make an STI joke at this moment in time.
I'll go on. People have switched off.
Yeah. A night motorcyclist says press X to doubt. Personal growth. Yeah. There's a certain beauty to discovering oneself.
Oh, here we go.
Oh God, this isn't one of those. The joys, the sorrows, the passions, the fears.
It's like women have the same frame rate update. They all speak the same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez. The tired, worn out old metaphors. It's a journey that can often feel interrupted or rushed with the advent of marriage.
They're my favorite bands.
So personal growth ends at marriage. I guess that's what you're supposed to believe, right? I from based on this paragraph that personal, again, this is probably another reason why 69% of divorce or more is initiated by women. It's between 69 and 80%.
I guess what she's trying to say, you can't be too content in marriage because it will squash your personal growth.
It's the dumbest thing, right? Even though I had a really good upbringing, I'm going to compare this to myself again because I'm talking about marriage, and I'm the only legally married person here, but at least that's speaking. But I think I had significantly more personal growth because I got married to someone that I look up to. After I got married, I had that personal growth after I got married than I did in my adult years prior to marriage. Obviously, you have a significant amount during your childhood. But personal growth doesn't stop just because you partner with somebody. If you're marrying someone who doesn't have any traits that you admire, who you don't want to learn anything from, you're marrying the wrong person. But yeah, interrupted. Your personal growth is interrupted because you attached yourself forever to another person. Many women choose to delay or abstain from marriage because they yearn to better themselves, grow as an individual, and to reach their full potential before committing to someone else. So she has touched on something here. Years ago, and I believe the account is no longer active. It might be, but the subreddit that the post is in that I was going to talk about, that subreddit I think is gone. But the original The Red Pill subreddit, which was, it's not a men's rights subreddit. It is a not quite conservative. I don't know what to call it, but they did have conservative values. But there was a subreddit for men trying to figure out how to navigate the modern woke environment. There was a user named Whisper that talked very much about issues pertaining to relationships and the behavior of women, and sort of a psychoanalysis of the behavior of women. And one of the things that he mentioned in a post, there's a lot of things that other women do that don't make sense to me. And there's a lot of things that I did when I was in my adult teens and early 20s that even just like 5 years later, I looked back at and went, how could I have been that stupid? Did I drink, water that had lead in it or something? Obviously not, because it got better, but did I hit my head more times than I thought I did? But yeah, he was talking about the fact that women in adulthood never, based on the accountability that society holds you to, what your family teaches you, and so on, they never reach a level of personal accountability, personal growth, and adulthood, adult maturity, beyond what a boy is expected to reach by the time he is 14 years old. So you meet a 28-year-old woman, there are levels of responsibility for herself and the people around her that she doesn't take. That if she's in the room with a 14-year-old boy, he's expected to take. And it only gets worse from there, because boys don't stop at 14. They have more responsibility they take on before they reach adulthood, and then a significant amount more after. So it's quite a gap there between men and women in terms of personal growth.
What's the point? Teenage girls don't stop opening at 14. As a matter of fact, girls become the gaping mouth of a whale shark at quite an early age, whereas most men/boys kind of start their puberty off as someone rather apprehensive. But where they go from there depends on what society gives them. And from there, I can only give you some pretentious poetry, and I won't bother.
Yeah. You think about, a 14-year-old boy is already started thinking about what he might do to earn money so that he can afford to take girls out on dates. right? But a 20-year-old woman who goes out on dates with men, adult men, isn't thinking about paying for dates at all. She's not thinking, if she does earn money, she's only thinking about how she's going to spend it on herself. She's not even thinking about saving up for a future family.
The dead giveaway is the toys with which people play. like little guy. I said little guys just now. I'm very sorry. I meant little girls. Little girls like to play with dolls, with a simulacrum of a baby. Little boys like to play with anything else, really, like soldiers or superheroes or monsters or animals or anything other than human beings, basically. And that's, you know, that's what's so interesting about boys and what's so interesting about girls. Girls are hyper interested in these romantic comedy relationships, and boys are more hyper interested in relationships that go beyond the human. And yes, I can see why women find that icky until it ends up creating machines that make their lives so much easier. And that sort of explains the big old chasm between men and women.
Well, here's the problem with what I have with that. It's not even a paragraph. That sentence right there. That because they yearn to better understand themselves, to grow as an individual, and reach their full potential before committing to someone else. Well, if you have all of your potential, then number one, what do you need with somebody else, right? You're already doing the damn thing. You are your own individual person. So what do you need with somebody else? What can you contribute to their lives, or they to yours, and vice versa, right? But that's not the biggest thing here. I take issue with the idea of full potential. Well, what do you think your full potential is? Right? Like that is it, it's an individualistic type of thing. It's not one size fits all, right?
And it might not even be static.
Correct. And here's the other thing, right? There was, I forget who the comedian was who made this statement, but it's, it might have been like Bill Burr, or anyway, the statement goes like, you shouldn't teach your kids to go for their dreams, right? Because they might dream to be an astronaut when they are sitting there picking their nose. You know what I mean? They're just not fully capable of reaching this unattainable goal, right? And that's part of the role of parents, is to try to steer your kids in the proper direction, because they don't know what the fuck is going on. They have no idea what reality is really like once you are on your own and you're a fully realized adult, who now has to provide for themselves and not destroy society. But it's like, what is your potential, and are you being realistic about what you think your potential is, or are you just trying to keep up with the Johnsons? You see your girlfriends having this thing or that car or this job or that husband, and your assumption then is, well, if I can't do the same things, then I'm not as good as this person. And so, I have to go out and strive to be the best. And, who women are fighting they're fighting themselves in some kind of, non-existent war, just to obtain things that they feel are status symbols, which really it's just be this big boss bitch, and you think that that's your potential to be some CEO. Well, do that. Go do that and see how that fits your life in maybe 20, 30 years down the road, when all you've done is spend your time working at this career, and you may have this successful job, and you may have all of this money and be able to do all of these things. And, hey, that's great. There are some people who will look at you and be envious of what you have. Meanwhile, they're looking at you with your husband and your children and your lifestyle and say, man, I really just wish I didn't have all of these burdens that come with being a CEO, like, time management and, constantly having to answer to other people. There's this idea that once you're a CEO that you don't have to answer to anybody, but no, you have employees that are constantly, looking to you for guidance and instruction. And
Yep.
so it just becomes this trade-off. And I think that we sell women short by not because we don't do this. Women are being sold short by making them believe that they have to they have to tick all of these boxes and I have to do everything. I have to be, I have to be a manager or in management, and I have to have the kids and the husband and the white picket fence and all of that. And they're meanwhile, and this is why women are so unhappy. Like, they are barely keeping it all together because it is stressful. They take on the responsibilities of both gender dynamics, and they fail at most of them. And then they wonder why they don't feel fulfilled. Well, if you had just shifted your focus onto one thing that you could actually control, and be an active part of, and not just, well, it's 8 o'clock, I have to go to work, your nanny's gonna come and pay attention to you for the rest of the day, then you're failing at being a mother.
Yeah, very much. This is the thing. You can't have real fulfillment without real values,
Yes.
right? So I think what happens with a lot of women, you could find a way to give a woman the entire world, and she would say, there's got to be something more. I want something more, right? You could give her the entire solar system, and she'd say, there's got to be something more. You could give her the whole universe. Oh, there's got to be something more. I don't understand. I'm not satisfied. I don't feel fulfilled. Give her the multiverse, and she would not feel fulfilled unless she actually grew up where in a environment where she was able to develop and learn strong values, good values.
I mean that,
Like,
and I mean, sorry, go ahead.
it's fundamental to happiness. You don't find happiness. You make happiness. It's not something that falls on you. Winning the lottery will not make you happy.
No.
Right? Getting your dream job will not make you happy. Being romanced will not make you happy. Getting the best accord or accolade from the best public award ceremony in the world for the best thing that you can be congratulated for will not make you happy. Nothing outside of yourself will ever make you happy.
Yeah.
You make happiness, and you have to base that on something. It needs a foundation. If you don't have a foundation for that happiness, you cannot build it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just what everybody always says, which is absolutely true. Anything worth having is worth working for. And when you live your whole life with everything just being handed to you, you do not understand the value of what it is that you've been given.
Yeah.
And so, it's man, I just have a hard time finding sympathy for these lonely women who, they just spend, it's like we've been saying, they spend their youth frivolously, and then when that clock starts ticking, they're looking at the closest guy around them. And again, it's not the way you're supposed to go about things if you want that traditional lifestyle. And let's call it exactly what it is. A man and a woman being married and having children and raising a family, that is
That's
traditional,
tradition. Yeah.
right? And so you can't try to embody this person who is doing things. I want to be exceptional. I want to do something very extra double special, and think that something is not going to suffer. And it's just I don't know what to do with these people, because they're just it's almost like no matter what they try to do, no matter what they try to achieve, they're never going to be happy with what they have, because they're always looking at what they don't have.
Yeah. In fact, look at the first thing she mentions as and I'm going to get back to the full potential thing too, because that bothers me. The line
Yeah.
and the idea of reaching your full potential. You in your whole life, right? You should never treat reaching your full potential as a stopping point.
Mm-hmm.
What your full potential is in the moment is not the same as it will be when you reach the level that is your full potential right now. Because every
Right.
time you improve, you increase your potential.
Mm-hmm.
You pick up skills, you pick up knowledge, you pick up strength. And, eventually, oh no, it's somebody's got sound with a bunch of exclamation points. It's Richard Bier.
Oh.
Richard Bier cannot hear us. That would be in the YouTube chat. Can the Rumble chat hear us? Okay. I don't know if everybody else can't hear, but it's doing that. Okay. Rich, yeah. Okay, so yeah, Rumble's confirming they can hear. So yeah, you improve over and over again over time, and maybe you do reach a point in your life where you start slowing down on some things that you're doing, but you substitute other things. Okay, so it's there's others saying YouTube is fine too. Good. Thanks, guys, for making sure we know. But yeah, it's to say, oh, I've reached my full potential. It's not a stopping point, right? You always want to try to learn new things and try new things and improve your overall performance at the things that you're passionate about, especially in your role as a member of your family and a partner in your marriage. You try to do better tomorrow than you did yesterday, and next week than you did last week. You don't want to go downhill, and you don't want to plateau. You want to increase, and there's some things that you'll become comfortable in, and there's other things that you want to do differently or more fun or fancier or, whatever, kinder, and so on. And that shouldn't change. That should be a stable factor in your life, that you're always striving for improvement. And there's always even room for self-improvement. You never reach perfection as a person. There's always work to be done. And that is part of what keeps you mentally active and alive. When you hit a point where you think you're perfect and there's nothing left for you to seek, you are going to become discontent because you're not doing what you evolved to do, which is always striving to expand your potential and improve your character and your skills and your performance as a human being. What she's talking about here, whether it's traveling solo to different corners of the world, every time I travel solo to a different corner of the world, I miss my husband. I don't want to travel solo. I do it sometimes because it's necessary. But there's always stuff I would love to show him and experience with him and not by myself, or at least not without him. And I don't understand wanting to make it exclusive like that. Everything good that you experience in your life is even better when someone you love is there to experience it with you, and you get to show each other things and share it with each other and enjoy seeing each other's responses to it. And you get to see the person that you love enjoying something that you are enjoying, and you get to see their happiness, and that should make you happy, even though it's not an external factor. It's because you value your relationship and you value that person and you value that person's experiences. So you want them to be happy, and it brings you happiness because you've placed a priority on that. Just like you take satisfaction in a job well done because you placed a priority on that. So when she says stuff like that, to me, that's a person that's shallower than a two-way mirror. Right? That's you can tell a mirror is two-way and someone's looking back at you from the other side if you put your finger up to it and you touch the mirror and there's not sort of a space in between what you're touching and the reflection. It's likely a thin piece of glass with reflective coating on it that somebody can see through on the other side. But anyway, so she goes on, pursuing higher education, which, that's great and all, but you don't have to be single to do that. Climbing the rungs of their desired career ladder. You don't have to be single to do that either. Right? What does she think these women are going to get married or they're going to reach the top of the corporate ladder, and then when they get married, they're going to quit? But these women prioritize their personal growth and development. But each of these things are not about personal growth and development. One is a vacation that you go to, enjoy places and things. One is self-aggrandizement more than anything. If they're not going to maintain it after they get married and use it to support their family. But even if they are, it's just a tool. It's not, personal growth comes from character development, not just getting a piece of paper that says you deserve certain types of jobs. And climbing the rungs of a career ladder don't make you a good person or a special person or anything admirable just by the fact that you now are supervisor and a supervisor of supervisors and so on, head of this department or CEO or whatever. You can still be a piece of shit. You could be a walking piece of shit and run a company that has outlets all over the country. You could run it into the ground, too. But she goes on to say, the prospect of marriage and everything it traditionally entails can sometimes seem like a hindrance to this solo journey of self-discovery and evolution. She sounds like a femcel. I can't find a partner that wants to accept someone who behaves like me, so I'm going to say I'm self-partnered. And that, my friends, is our fifth reason. The beautiful longing for personal growth. But remember, every woman's journey is unique. You're unique, just like everybody else. And this list tries to capture the diversity of experiences and feelings. Yeah, and that's why it's so short. Right? And the article is so short, and her writing about it is so shallow. Yeah, you compare that to, say, Thoreau going into the woods to commune with God through nature and learn about himself, or even the self-discovery of a fictional character that ends up trapped on a deserted island, or in an abandoned place in the world where he's gotten lost or whatever, where the protagonist is a male. It's always him against nature, some difficult thing where he has to learn the limits of his strength and his toughness and his endurance, his creativity, ingenuity, and so on. And when women write about self-discovery like this, and they talk about what they're gaining from the outside, not what challenges they're overcoming and what they learn from overcoming those challenges, it sort of feels like you're reading the whinings of an entitled little 8-year-old, talking about what she wants to get for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, I think a lot of what she's actually meaning is, I want to go travel the world and find new and exciting guys my age to fuck.
She wants a hippopotamus for Christmas.
She wants to go to university and find new and exciting guys her age to fuck.
Yes.
Right? She wants to climb the rungs of the desired career ladder and fish off the company pier. Before she gets married. Run her body count up to about 50 before she gets married.
That sounds like, who's that comedian? Akash Singh. Sounds like his wife.
Yep. And it's important to point that out, because I think a lot of women, they'll use this kind of flowery metaphoric language to describe it. Self-discovery. I was finding myself. Well, there you are in some guy's bed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you are in the back seat of some guy's car. There you are behind the bleachers on the football field.
There she goes again.
There you are in the janitor's closet at work. How the fuck did you get your legs into that position? Yoga?
And
But yeah.
and thus prompts my next favorite statement. No matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, no matter where you go, there's probably at least one OnlyFans thought filming herself in the next room over.
Mhm.
But the worst part about it is, they're blaming men for women not having babies until they're 30. But what are these women doing? They want to hoe around until they're almost 30 and then find some guy to settle down with and nab him. And then when he's, well, what do you bring to the table? I am the table,
Mhm.
right? With my 50 body count. That
Yeah.
I haven't been tested for anything in 6 years and could be carrying, some new variant, new antibiotic resistant variant of gonorrhea, but I am the table. And she is the table because she doesn't have any more personality than one.
Very true. Very true.
And with that, we will put off the last two until next week. Or 3, because this was number 5, so we have 6, 7, and 8. And there's a reason why I keep mentioning 50. I'm not going to bring up who I'm talking about. I think I've run that into the ground. But
It better not be 50 Cent, because shit, he
no,
gonna come and clap
it's
back
not
on your
50
ass.
Cent.
I know. I'm just...
No, it's a woman. It's a woman. And actually, there are 2 now that I think about it that I could be taking jabs at. But both of them, and they kind of have the same personality in some ways. But I met them at different times in my life. So, but there you go. There you go. With that, I will thank everybody for listening. I will thank my co-hosts for going over this bullshit with me. We still have numbers 6, 7, and 8 to read next week. So hopefully you guys will come back and discuss. Oh, I have to read this out. J.O. Balls says the table is to be on all fours and silent.
I like that, man.
Don't objectify me. I am the table. Thanks, Brian, for working hard in the background to make sure everything happens and coming in early tonight to make sure we were able to have our cartoons talking. And good night, all.
Good night, y'all.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.